with the departures of Ashley Giles, Chris Silverwood, and assistant coach Graham Thorpe. All three have left their jobs. That's how it was described by the ECB, by Tom Harrison. They left their roles. They were sacked, Steve Harmison. They probably expected no less. And I suppose you weren't surprised either, were you?
No, not really. I think it was inevitable after the winter that we've had that they'd lose their jobs. I feel sorry for them because I'm not sure the cricketers got them sacked. I'm not sure that a little bit of their own doing with decisions they've made. Yes, of course, they've been sacked off the back of that. I think some of the decisions they've made have been quite baffling sometimes on how they've looked after players and when they've looked after players. And it all came to head in the Ashes. I don't think we stood any chance of winning the Ashes when you look back and reflect on it now. We said before the Ashes series, possibly England have a chance with the names that are going over, but that was just names on a bit of paper. The way the whole tour was set up, the way the preparation went, everything that went against England, that could go against England, went against England. Unfortunately, Ashley Giles, who was there planning it, Chris Silverwood, who was there coaching it, they've been the fall guys. And where do they go from here? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure how and where you go from here. But it's not a great surprise that the two of them have lost their jobs.
Well, Andrew Strauss is obviously in as interim managing director. You say it's a results business. This is what the chief executive, Tom Harrison, had to say about the departures.
These are decisions that are taken once you've assessed in detail all of the facts and taken a view on what you're trying to do in the future. We've obviously had a very difficult couple of years dealing with the pandemic, and the test team and the test environment have felt the brunt of that, to be honest. So there are real complexities around this. But this is more a reflection of where we need to take the team now and what are the people and the resources that we need in place to do that. We've got some short-term challenges ahead, but I think this does give the test team a bit of space and an opportunity to reset with some big challenges ahead, but right at the start of a new cycle. So whilst this is a very difficult week, it's also we have the opportunity now to have a fresh approach to how we're taking this team forward.
And just very lastly, of course, with the two positions being moved on, a lot of questions have come onto yourself as to perhaps whether you are the right person and whether you feel you should carry on in the role. But what do you have to say to those people?
Look, I recognise it's been a very difficult period for English cricket. I'm working day and night to ensure that we're putting plans in place to remedy it and to get the game back onto the right track, and that is my focus.
Chief Executive Tom Harrison, many people, Harmy, is saying that if the three below him are being sacked, why on earth isn't he walking?
Can't believe it. I really can't. I'm really struggling to understand how he's still in a job. I really, really am. He will say that he was brought in for TV deal and 100 and get that over the line, and he got it over the line. Fair play to him. But if you're losing a director of cricket who he appointed, if you're losing a coach who he had a say in appointing, then unfortunately I think Tom Harrison should have gone as well. I still think he should have gone. So it seems to be like Boris Johnson. He just doesn't seem to want to give up that CEO's job or the big job and move on to something else. It hasn't worked from a cricketing side point of view of making the game better when it comes to making our Red Bull team better or our national team better. We've got worse in the last 2 years when it comes to Red Bull. We have got worse. We've got players who have gone in there. And this is not Tom Harrison's fault, but he is the one that's moving on coaches that he appointed. He is the one that signed off on the system of losing Ed Smith, not having a chairman of selectors, not having a selection panel, giving the coach and the captain the say to sort of basically do what they want. When that decision didn't work, the guy that signed off on that decision should go. And that would be the reset button that Sir Andrew Strauss is talking about. I've not spoke to anybody or heard anybody who has defended Tom Harrison. And it's not a witch hunt. I've got nothing against the guy. I think he's a nice guy for when I've met him. But at the end of the day, if we are making statements about moving forward and resetting the Red Bull or the English cricket system, then I think we need brand new eyes all the way from the top to head coach, which would be a man in the middle, another selection panel, and a rethink on how we play all cricket in this country to make sure that we're going forward.
There are T20 teams around the world, Harmy, that employ analysts and selectors and coaches on a full-time basis, just for T20. So Chris Silverwood has to run the England T20 team, the 50-over team, the Test match team. He's then told that he's head of selection as well, and he's got no one to rely on and gets no second opinion. He then collapses under the pressure of all that, and then he's sacked. Graham Thorpe, though, I wanted to ask you, do you think he was sacked for smoking a cigar at the end of the Ashes series and setting off the fire alarm in the team hotel in Hobart, or was he sacked because Ollie Pope and Zach Crawley and the other members of the top order have made no progress? In fact, they seem to have regressed. I mean, his main mandate was as batting coach. But then is the national batting coach, we're in a sorry state of affairs when he's supposed to make the country's best players better.
Yeah, I think there's a combination on why Thorpe's gone. Thorpe's gone because obviously he brought some negative headlines towards England. I think there's a black mark there. The cigar and the video, I could understand he had a video up his sleeve to say we're not doing anything wrong. And they weren't doing anything wrong, but how it got made public, that hasn't helped him. But on the other hand, I look at some of these players and I go, well, if you need a technical batting coach at the England level, who's picking the side? He shouldn't be playing. If Ollie Pope tells Chris Silverwood at the start of the Ashes trip, I need to bring in Vikram Solanki, I'll pay for him before the first Test match because I'm not ready. Then what you've been doing for 2-3 months? Ownership of your own career. Look, I can quite happily sit here and say I made monumental mistakes in my career. It was my mistakes. My mistakes. I decided not to go to the gym every now and again, or more often than not. I decided to go and eat my fish supper and have me a couple of pints. And it was my decision to go and bowl all them overs. That maybe put my body in jeopardy of moving forward when the new age of professionalism come in. My decision. I was the ownership of my career. So I just think sometimes we hide behind the fact that when things don't go well, it's somebody else's fault. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. It's your fault. It's your career. You know, I've had my go. That's what I'd be saying. Whatever you do from here on in, I can't affect. I can give you some advice. I can talk you through situations of what I've seen throughout my experience of my career. That's why I'm 44 and about 4 stone overweight. I've had my career. This is yours. You take ownership of it. I can put ideas in your head. But ultimately, you've got to deliver. And unfortunately for England, all these deliverance. You know, Ollie Pope's the biggest one. I look at that kid and I think, you know what? He's got all the talent in the world. All the talent in the world. We're talking about Joe Root standard about 2 years ago. With 22 Test matches now, and he's going backwards. He goes into first-class cricket, smashes it. Great. Goes into Test cricket, and all of a sudden he's like a cat on a tin roof. So he's got to take ownership of how he gets himself in a position to get in for the first 20 balls in a Test match. Understand that bowlers bowl good balls in Test cricket. Can't just stand off stump and think, right, I'm going to get 3 or 4 away off the leg side, 2 or 3 away on the offside, and then my innings are started like he does in first-class cricket. It's not the same. That's not technical coaching. That's mental. At this minute in time, he seems to be mentally an issue.
Just going back to the big picture, there's one man that we both enjoy very much, brutal clarity of thought from George Dobell from the Cricketer magazine. Let's hear what he had to say about the big picture.
What has happened is that his job has become untenable because it's not a real job. He hasn't got any decisions to make. They're all made by Tom Harrison. And he's realised that he's basically been scapegoated, I believe. And he's realised that it's an impossible job to do. So, I think he's been scapegoated for the failures of England in recent times. And the reason I say that is because England went into the Ashes with a terrible schedule, not anything to do with him. The players weren't available very much, nothing to do with him. When they go and play in the IPL, they don't come back on time to play county cricket to prepare for Test series. That's a decision made by Tom Harrison. I think he has been scapegoated, as I say, to distract from the fact that Tom Harrison continues to do an absolutely dreadful job and is about to pick up an absolutely enormous bonus for doing it. England will keep losing because structurally they are a mess, and the characters in the roles have no chance. So I think it's a massive distraction, and it might keep the media occupied for a day or two, but it won't actually do anything to correct the long-term weaknesses of English cricket. They are never as well prepared as they should be because they are always chasing the short-term buck. And now people have moaned about the results because the results are awful, as they were bound to be, and they are being thrown to the wolves. And I think it's nonsense. The guy who is making the decisions, who continues to remain in the role, who had the meeting with Ashley Giles this morning, is Tom Harrison. And as I say, he's about to get a big fat bonus, and he is an utterly incompetent man.
That's George Dobell, as always, brutally honest. He sees us going around in a big 4-year cycle. We've said the same things 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, and in 4 years' time, unless big things change, the big picture really changes, then he says in 4 years' time we'll just sack everyone else.
We will, and that's just the nature of Ashes cricket at home and abroad. And you look at it, not just Ashes cricket. They've got two at the West Indies. We haven't won there. We've won there once in 50 odd years. So arguably that's a harder tour than the Ashes. So it's getting harder and harder to win test matches away from home. England have now got to find a way to take ownership of somehow being able to stay in series, to contest the back end of the series when the pressure's on the home side. That's something that England haven't been able to do for quite some time now. And who comes in to help that is the $1 million question.
Okay, final word in this section goes to Sir Andrew Strauss, who is also obviously been focusing on the big picture in the future.
It's also worth mentioning we're going to have a new England coach down the track, and probably hopefully for the start of the international summer. So there is going to be that refresh. I definitely feel like this is a start of a new cycle for the Test team, and an opportunity to relook at everything. Whether it's the structures, whether it's selection, whether it's the coaching setup, and make sure that we've got the right team in place to reset that Test team and push forward quickly.